All right, so here are the notes for Section 4 and Section 5. Section 4 is power to a power. When raising one power to another, the shortcut is to keep the base and multiply the powers. Keep the base and multiply the powers. The example comes from the activity in the book, page 433. Where Alice is eating a certain number of ounces of cake at each meal. So for example, we could have that Alice is eating 5 ounces of base 2 cake for 4 meals, which would be the same as 2 to the 5th times 2 to the 5th times 2 to the 5th. So 4 times, and we can rewrite that as 2 to the 5th to the 4th. So here is one base, 2 is our base, power to power, and the shortcut is keep the base and multiply the powers. So our answer would be 2 to the 20, which makes sense mathematically because this is 4 groups of 5. So here are 3 examples supporting power to power. So a to the m times n would be a to the mn, or a to the m times n. 2 to the 3rd to the 6th is the same as 2 to the 3 times 6, which is 2 to the 18th. And x to the 3rd to the 2nd is the same as x to the okay. And moving on to section 5. There is no activity specifically listed in the book to support this shortcut, but we can still apply what we've been working on so far. So power of a product and power of a quotient. When you raise a product to a power, you must take each individual part of the product to the power. And the same thing applies to the quotients. Quotient just meaning fraction or dividing. So AB to the M. So we need to take the M and apply it to everything in the parentheses. So with your pencil, you're going to want to write a little bitty 1 above the A for A to the first and B to the first. If the exponent is not listed, the exponent is 1. And it's really important that you understand that. So then we are basically going to distribute that power to everything in the parentheses. So we are going to take 1 times m. So just like in section 4, power to power multiply, you're going to multiply this outside power times everything inside. So 1 times m is m. 1 times m is m. So again, you're going to distribute this m times 1 times 1. If you are not listening, you're not learning. Pay attention. On the next example, again, you're going to want to put a power for everything that's not listed. The 2 up front needs to have an exponent of 1 so that you don't forget to apply this 3 to everything inside the parentheses. So again, we're going to act like it's distributing to all of the powers inside. So now the power to power rule. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So it gets distributed to both powers inside. Now, 2 to the third is something that you can simplify off of your pink sheet. 2 to the third is 8. So 8x to the 6th will be your final answer on that second example. On the third example here, again, you have 5, and the power's not listed, so it is a 1. Be very conscientious about putting those powers on there so you don't forget. If I don't put that 1 on there, I'm liable to write this as my answer. 5x to the 6th, y to the 12th. But because there's a 1 here, when I am conscientious about that and I write it down, I'm like, oh, I need to also apply the 3 to the 5. So the correct answer is 5 to the third, x to the 6th, y to the 12th, where it's power to power multiply. And again, 5 to the third is on your exponent sheet, so you can multiply that out. So the simplified final answer here is 125 x to the 6th, y to the 12th. We've already talked about the quotient rule a little bit. When we have parentheses around a fraction with a power, we know that this power needs to be applied to the numerator and the denominator. And so we are, and the A would have a power of 1, the B would have a power of 1, so power to power multiply, 1 times m, 1 times m. So A to the m over B to the m. So again, on this next example, it's 3 to the first over 4 to the first. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And off of your pink sheet then, 3 squared is 9, and 4 squared is 16. Go ahead and take a couple seconds here and try this last example. So this first step here, we're going to make sure that we add the power to the 3 so we don't leave it off. So it's going to be 1 times 5, so you're going to get 3 to the 5th. 2 times 5 gives us x to the 10th. 4 times 5 gives us y to the 20th. And also 3 to the 5th is something we can simplify off of our pink sheet. So we would get 243 x to the 10th over y to the 20th.